but it was the right thing for us to get divorced and separate. And it was the hardest time of my life. Open loop is a term that my friend Sammy said, Kimbal, you're open loop. You're not appreciating the consequences of your actions, and you're not taking feedback from your surroundings. I always love a good party, don't get me wrong, but this was unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really became an unhealthy version of myself because I was so sad.
Hi, welcome to Edge of My Seat, episode number 4. My name is Miki Agrawal, and I'm the founder of TUSHY, and I'm so excited about today's guest. Today's guest is Kimbal Musk, Tesla board member and the founder of the restaurant chain called The Kitchen, and also author of his new book called The Kitchen as well, a cookbook that I love and actually sits right on my kitchen counter. He's one of my dear, dear friends, and I'm so excited because The Kitchen just opened here in Austin, Texas yesterday, and it was a really, really fun party. So I'm so excited to talk to him about the hardest moment of his life and all the things he did both internally and externally to clean it up. Welcome to Edge of My Seat, and I'm so excited for this episode. Yay! I'm so excited to be with my dear friend Kimbal Musk here in Austin, Texas, the day after the launch of his restaurant opening of The Kitchen, fourth location. Yep, since 2000
We started in 2004.
2004.
We opened Denver in 2012, Chicago 2014, but we haven't opened one in 10 years. I love the restaurant business. What I don't love is scaling restaurants. I just want to do restaurants in communities that I love.
Yep.
So
Austin,
I
Texas,
got to know Austin over the past few years, and it's like
his favorite people are in town here. So I
didn't want to say anything, but
teacher's pet,
But really, honestly, you and the Austin community are fantastic, and it's a wonderful way for me to get to know. I already know a lot of good people here, but restaurants are a way for me to get to know more people because I like to get to know people across the spectrum.
Yep.
Whether they're, I'm a burner, right? There are plenty of burners in town that I know. But actually, there are a lot of non-burners that are great people that I want to get to know. So a restaurant helps me get to know people.
I mean, there's nothing better than breaking bread together. My first business was also a restaurant. I've had it for almost 20 years too.
Amazing.
It's a
labor of love.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
But actually, that comes back to the lighting. I care so much about the lighting. I work so hard at it, not because we'll make more money that way.
Yeah.
Because it's a labor of love.
Right.
And if it's a labor of love, then definitely put the love into it.
Exactly. It's an art project.
Yeah, it's an art project.
Like an absolute
It's an art project.
Like for community.
You're creating a space for people to gather and build community. You want to feel warm and inviting.
That's right.
You want to feel like this is the right place for me to connect with someone. You want to feel like you look good.
Yes.
The lighting is so important.
Critical. Okay, so this podcast is called Edge of My Seat. And it takes you into the darkest moment of your life. And then it's all about all the things you did both internally and externally to clean it up. So I would love to open this podcast episode on maybe just taking 10 seconds to close your eyes and just like drop yourself back into the scene of one of the darkest, hardest, shittiest moments of your life. And first I'd love to just dive into like what's the first thing that came up, and then I'd love to go on a journey of all the things that you did to clean it up, because it will serve and help so many people who are going through challenging moments. So
what comes up for me, Jen Lewin is my first wife, and she did the lights last night with me at our restaurant. So we're
full circle.
Close. She did the restaurants from 2004.
Wow.
But it was the right thing for us to get divorced and separate, and it was the hardest time of my life when I had to. We were together 12 years, and I was 39. I think 39 when we officially decided to separate. But maybe the couple years before that were really hard, and we really did love each other. We still love each other. It's just when life doesn't give you the fairy tale, and it doesn't.
Right.
Life is life, and in fact, my life is amazingly interesting. They couldn't even write this down if they wanted to make a fairy tale. So, but it was a real really sad moment for me, and I believe for her as well, where
What was it that made you decide to end it?
it was just so I guess
Gradually.
no, it wasn't great. It was more like a lack of compatibility of what life we wanted. You know, we were talking earlier about community. You're in love. You're in life together,
Yeah.
and uh, the life that I lead is the life that I find to be. It just works for me, and the life that she leads works for her. But we started to realize we were actually having separate lives, and that's fine. We can support each other and celebrate that for a while,
Right.
and then realize, you know what, we actually do want separate lives. But it was really sad. It
Yeah.
was really, this was the saddest moment of my life, and it was also the right thing. You can actually have both feelings at the same time.
And how did you muster up the courage to say, God, I love you, but this isn't the thing? Or was it?
It was a lot of conversations
Yeah.
over a few years. I think that the way I dealt with it, I'm a wiser person. I dealt with it by distracting myself. You know, when we separated, and I would start drinking, or I'd just start to act irresponsibly, and
What does that mean?
meaning, fooling around with
Partying,
girls,
yeah.
partying in ways. I mean, I always love a good party. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but this was unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really became an unhealthy version of myself because I was so sad, and with SpaceX, it's constantly taking feedback from its surroundings, so
Right.
it can adjust directions and move around and so forth. But a bullet is open loop, where it doesn't get feedback from its surroundings. Just you shoot it, it goes one direction,
Right.
and it doesn't matter what's in front of it, goes through it or hits it.
Yeah.
And so open loop is a term that my friend Sammy said, Kimbal, you're open loop. You're not appreciating the consequences of your actions, and you're not taking feedback from your surroundings. And that was an intervention from a few friends, and I'm really grateful to them for that. And then it kind of grounded me to be, okay, I need to be, I'm a parent of kids,
Yeah.
and
How many kids?
3
Uh-huh.
3 beautiful kids, and
I bet your
a
daughter,
stepdaughter. I have a stepdaughter
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, it was a period of time to still be. I was still single. I was still myself, but in a more responsible way.
Yeah.
And it was the right thing.
So I'm curious. So when you've had some crazy childhood experience. I mean, I talked to your mom a little bit about the taking the 3 kids out of South Africa to Canada during that period of crazy time. I'm curious, like when you pick all of the hardest moments, this moment of heartbreak,
Yeah.
like was it just like breaking someone's heart, or was it like you thought your life was going one direction but it's going a different direction? Like, what is it about this moment that you
I think
feel
it's both of those actually. You think your life is going one direction.
yeah,
Everyone has told you that this is how life is.
right,
Get married, you have kids, and go.
yeah,
But what they don't tell you is how long life is.
right, right.
And you're like, wow. So now,
People don't die at 35 anymore.
yeah, a few years in, you're like, so it's still just go. There's no other instructions.
yeah.
And life just takes you on lots of journeys.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as open to that when I was younger. Now I'm more open to the idea that Christiana and I are together, most wonderful thing ever.
Yeah.
And we're also kind of learning over time. Oh, she's passionate about psychedelics and mental health. I'm here to be her cheerleader, but
Yeah.
I don't have to go along for that ride.
Yeah.
I do use them for my own mental health, but and she doesn't do much of that. But she's more passionate about mental health itself. But so I can honestly support her. I'm not like supporting something I don't understand. But I don't have to go on that ride with her. She can go on that ride and then come back to me when she needs help, questions. When I was younger, I didn't quite have that. So I think there's the one you said was, you do everything right, everything's supposed to be great, but actually we weren't that happy.
Right.
And then the next one was heartbreak, because you do love each other, but we're not that happy.
Right.
And so it's okay.
It's harder to break something good than something bad. Because if it's a good,
Yeah.
you're like, our relationship's good. Like,
Yeah.
but it's just not like the
It
thing.
wasn't
That's
going
the
to
hard. It's
serve
actually
us for our
harder. It's
lives,
actually
because this
harder.
life is long, and so
Yeah.
you're. It's a long time to work things out, and we'd been together 12 years. It wasn't like we'd just been together a year or two.
Right. Same.
We really had a wonderful marriage. I'm so grateful. And she's a
Yeah.
great mom. Our kids are great. So everything about it is good. And yeah, that makes it even more heartbreaking.
100%. So when I remember, Andrew and I, when we were deciding to end our marriage, it was a gradual thing over a couple of years. But then, like at Burning Man on our 11-year anniversary, we met at the temple and rode out to Deep Playa, and we sat with each other in a installation, and we just looked at photos together and just cried for 3 hours, listened to music. Walk me through the moment where you and your ex, when you just decided you're like, this is it, and then
actually,
like, do you remember where you were, and then what the feeling was after? Because I remember feeling ungrounded, because I'm like, that was home, that was my North Star, and now it's not, and it was really scary for me for a little while. And I'm curious to hear what that moment was like for you.
it's funny you say Burning Man. So my wife and I started building art in 2004 on Playa, and really physically building these large structures, which was amazing. Burning Man is so good for that. And Jen is the artist. I was the helper, but I loved it. I was just absolutely psyched to dig holes and work with equipment. I'm clearly not that skilled at it, but at Burning Man, you just do whatever anyone needs. You're just hard labor.
What was the first one?
The first one was a laser harp. So Janet designed this beautiful harp that was probably three different parts, but 30 or 40 feet long. And if you break the light, it plays music, and you can play together. And she designed that sound to work together. So that was our first one. And then after that, she created this pool of light, which is 10,000 square foot of light, where if you stand on the light, it changes the light direction, and became quite a successful and popular one. But what's is amazing is that she continued to do good things, work up the artist credibility.
Yeah.
And this past year, she did The Man.
No way.
Yeah. So she was asked to design The Man.
I love The Man this year. It was my favorite one.
It's so amazing. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but it had a feminine
it was
style.
So that's why I was like, there's something.
Yeah, it's like exactly very subtle, not in your face, subtle.
It was my favorite
style.
man.
So
Man by woman. I love it.
So glad to hear. So that was Jen Lewin.
Wow.
And so we were able to really celebrate each other's work. And like I said, she did the lights for the restaurant. So it's really beautiful, and I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
So actually, what was the hardest thing for me, I remember back in 2011 or 12 when I had to not work on the art, and she was working on the art, and we kind of just agreed to that. We would not. This clearly could not go on because we were separating. And that was so hard for me. Yeah. Because I really did love being part of that.
Right. And so walk me through some of like the first, when you're like kind of like ended the marriage, you're sort of like ungrounded, because I felt ungrounded too.
Totally ungrounded. You don't know what life is.
What's home, what's north, where do I go from here? What were the first few things you did first on the internal journey? And then I'd love to hear, what are some of the steps that you took externally? Like, what were some of the things that you did so that, people who are listening can really understand, like, okay, like I could take some of those steps too, and look how amazing he turned out, And
yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that I tried a lot of things, and when I had that intervention, my friends suggested I be celibate for, let's say, 3 months. I can't remember. It was like 3 or 4 months.
How long after did they have the intervention?
6 or 7 months. It
Okay.
was fairly
and
soon.
was it like 3 close friends, or was it 5?
A few. It was more than 3, but they didn't even coordinate. They were individually letting me know.
Wow.
Yeah, not the same guidance.
Yeah.
So I tried that for 3 or 4 months. I think it was worth trying. Didn't actually help me. So I found that it works for other people, it didn't work for me.
Right. Huh.
And so what I actually learned was this concept of being very honest with girls that I dated, that I'm just not ready, and I clearly wasn't, and they could see it. But also I made sure not to not to date one person at a time, because you just naturally attach.
Right.
And I was
He gave me that advice when I got divorced. That's right.
yeah. And when you're a wounded animal, you
Yeah.
actually are even more likely to attach. And
Right.
and you just want to be very
I did that.
gentle with your own emotions. So by being totally honest, not in any way, shape, or form, hiding anything from folks you date, but I made a point of always having 3 girls that I would date. And if one dropped away, I would just look for a third date. And again, these are not people you date all the time, but you see them once a month or something.
Yeah.
Enough for you to have a connection, but not enough to deeply attach.
Yeah.
And then when Christiana came along, I just needed one. I'm happy,
How long after your marriage did you meet Christiana?
I met her actually soon after I separated, but she was getting married. And then
to a woman.
To a woman.
Really badass.
Amazing, baddest woman.
Yeah.
And
You met her when she was getting married.
Well, she was engaged.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just had a real connection with her. And so for years we had a platonic connection where I would see her at conferences. We both work on food policy, and but mostly she's just a bright spark. Like she'll talk about things at such intellectual depth.
Yeah.
So I loved seeing her at parties and connecting with her.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I used to call her my kryptonite because if she's at a party, I want to talk to her.
Right.
And if she's talking to someone else, then I'm like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Kind of ruins the party.
Totally.
So that was a funny job. It was before we started dating. I really had a deep connection with her.
You knew.
So when I finally got a chance to ask her on a date, we were friends, and I was like, I am taking you on a date. And it took me a while. It took me about 6 months to get that.
Did she feel it right away?
She knew we had a connection. But
Yeah.
she also had just gotten divorced. So she did.
How long was she married?
She married together for 6 years.
I know. So you basically were like kind of treading water for 6 years waiting for her?
Yeah, pretty much. And so then...
so in that 6-year period, what was your healing process? What was your process? Like, did you see coaches, therapists? Did you see MDMA?
I did use therapists. I didn't really understand the therapeutic use of MDMA and others at that time. I wish I did. It would have helped a lot. I find that what it does is it accelerates grieving, or accelerates sadness, or accelerates things that you need to get through your body.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it go away. It just makes you, if you embrace it, it moves things through your system faster.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have any of those tools, but I did have some great friends, guy friends, who were some of the folks that gave me that intervention, that were also single. And so I was able to hang out with them as my friends.
Yeah.
And then when I did find a girl that I wanted to connect with, I didn't come from a place of a wounded animal, which everyone is wounded after something like that, after a divorce. And and again, it was years. It was 5 years.
Yeah.
And so that also, the years were very helpful as well.
Amazing. So when you met Jen, were you already was like the Musk name?
No. I had, I don't know, $4,000 in my bank account.
Wow.
Yeah, I hadn't sold my company yet.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was no. I mean, my company was already built, and it did get acquired maybe 3 or 4 months into me starting to date Jen, but it wasn't. We were unknown, completely unknown.
Wow. Yeah. And so when you left her, was the Musk name then?
It was much bigger, but it was nothing like it is today.
Okay.
It was much bigger, but it was not. I don't think Twitter even was a thing.
Right.
I think. I remember actually, I was with Elon when he started tweeting. That was like in 2011.
Right.
I was literally with him going, and I'd been using Twitter for a while, but he had never really used it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. It was hilarious what he was tweeting. He just thought it was so funny that you could say whatever you like to the world. People will listen.
And at that point, what was there was no like Tesla? There was
Tesla was around, but it was going through. But it didn't go bankrupt. But GM went bankrupt. Chrysler went bankrupt. It was not a.
This was 2000. What year?
This was 2008.
2008.
We survived that. Then
when did Tesla start?
We started in 2004.
Okay.
And then we were public in 2012, which wasn't like everything's great. It's just that we were able to breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we also, 2010, and we released Model S in 2012, and that's when we could relax. That this car was a real hit.
Yeah.
And so
What was your role? What was your role at Tesla in the early days?
I'm on the board, so I play whatever role is needed or that I think is
Yeah.
needed. So I was I sold a lot of roadsters.
He'd go to Home Depot and pick the lighting, make sure the pink
Yes,
lighting was
exactly.
the right pink strip, you know?
I built a few of the early stores. So,
Amazing.
Yeah, so I built restaurants. I knew how to build spaces.
Epic.
When I say built, they were general contractors, of
Yeah.
course, but I oversaw them. Did the one in Boulder. Boulder actually became the #1 selling store in the country.
Amazing.
Yeah,
lightning, probably the
Because
lightning.
I know how to sell.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you do. That's epic.
Yeah, for the period of time, and then, but I got a lease on Pearl Street where car dealers are not allowed to have leases, but we're not a dealer.
Yeah.
We're a gallery. We're a store. So I got like a temporary 6-month lease.
Yeah.
That the city allowed us to do because they care about electric energy and they cared about it, but they wouldn't give us a permanent one. But for those 6 months, we were the top selling store.
Wow. And so what was it like? So dating, so as you guys were coming up in sort of success and name recognition, things like that, was dating, were you already with Christiana at that point? Or were you?
No, you're right. So when I was single, we'd gotten through the crises.
Was it public already?
It was public.
Okay, yeah.
So public. So I really didn't know what I was doing. In fact, one of the intervention parts of it was people saying, "Kimbal, you're not the same person you were before you married Jen.
Yeah.
You're not 26.
Right.
You're now Kimbal Musk, and you're 40.
Right.
Especially wearing the hat and everything. People
Right.
know who you are.
Right, totally.
Like pretty much, maybe not everyone, but pretty much.
Yeah.
And that was back then. And you're wealthy, and that's wealth. Wealth alone is something to.
And Tesla at this point was already.
Well, it was enough for
have a
most
name.
people. For me, I was still struggling with finances because I'd put so much money into Tesla.
Yeah.
And when you're public, I put all of my money. I'd gone almost to bankruptcy to put it in.
Wow.
Yeah, this was.
What was the decision for that?
That was 2008. Like the company's either going to go bankrupt
Or we have to put on
I go bankrupt.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was.
But
a big
the story there was crazy. I had stock and funds available, and I had a double mortgage on it. I could bought 2 houses, and my bank was kind of holding the stock and the cash, and I just sent them a note. I'm wiring everything to Tesla, every last penny,
to help
except
save
for
the
like 10 grand or something,
to help save the
and
company.
to help just
That is
help.
I just
And I just figured if I'd rather I went bankrupt than the company go bankrupt.
I did not know
And
that
if things
story.
go well, then the bank would get some of that stock, and it would be
Right,
fine.
and then you'd also be great.
And then it'd be fine. Exactly. So it was a really just risky decision. But a month after I did that, the bank was pissed as hell. But a month after I did,
Everything on
did
black,
that,
you know?
I got another call from the bank, and I was like, okay, what are they going to say this time? And they said they are going bankrupt.
Oh no!
2008 was hard.
Holy shit!
Everyone was going out of business.
100%. So what happened?
So they said to me that another bank will acquire the assets and the debts, and when they do, they'll call you and ask for the money back, and they will really come after you. And I was like, wow, okay, I've got a year.
Oh, so at least bought you some time.
Bought me some time.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I
And then
managed
at
to
that
get
point-
it done
Amazing.
before.
That's a gift.
I know, it was a gift from God. Just like,
Oh my god.
yeah, you have some time. And it was working. I got through it with the skin of
Skin
my
of it.
chinny chin chin.
How beautiful. But like, that's the type of generosity of spirit of just being like, you know what? Like, this is our company. Like, we're going to make this
Yeah.
happen. Like shareholders over my own. Like, let me just
Yeah.
make it happen. And that.
And I was
it
one
a
of
huge
one of
win
others
for
as
you.
well. Elon and our good friend Antonio. There were people put their lives, their livelihoods on the line to keep the company alive.
Wow. And so then when did it turn around?
Turnaround wasn't until, I mean, it's going to sound weird, but it probably wasn't even until 2020.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yeah, and it was a long road.
So wait, from
Yeah.
2008 to 2020?
No, 2010 we went public.
Okay.
So we got some breathing room.
Yeah.
2012 it went, that sort of early, that was sort of the breathing room time.
Okay, yeah.
But then we were under pressure to build a car at scale, which was the Model 3.
Yeah.
That came out in 2018, and that was hell. And the demand was so nuts. And
Like nuts good.
I took a large role in the delivery logistics.
Uh-huh.
And I would fly from one delivery area to the other, and we had tracking, so we knew where cars were. They needed to be on time, and they also needed
How
to be
did people
delivered.
hear about it? I know Hayes played some role in sales.
Yeah, Hayes
Of
absolutely,
course,
yeah, absolutely.
Hayes
So-
played a big role. Yeah.
on the energy side.
Yeah, on the
still
energy side. Yeah.
But yeah, in the case of delivery, this one I'm quite proud of is we had hundreds of thousands of cars to deliver before September 30th. So that's the
But
end
how
of
do
the
people
quarter.
find out about it?
Exactly, the great question.
Okay.
So we were building them, and we needed to get them directly to the owner as quickly as possible, but definitely before September 30th. I believe September 30th was a Sunday, so many states you have to do it by the Saturday, the 29th.
No, but how does you even have 100,000 people like waiting to have the car?
Oh, people
Like,
have been lining up for the car.
how do they hear about it?
Um,
Just like electric
we
car.
had become a phenomenon at the time.
Okay, how?
Model 3, it was a lower priced car.
Okay.
So everyone wanted access to.
Not paying
and
gas.
The cars are amazing.
Yeah.
Not paying gas is just much safer. It's the safest car in the world.
Right.
By
Yeah.
far.
Like,
so
saved
safe.
Aubrey Marcus's life. You know, the Tesla.
I've had.
Have you talked to Aubrey about it?
No, I need to talk to him.
It
but
literally saved his life.
I
have
have
a
other
photo.
friends and family that have been hit in a Tesla and
Yeah.
they would be dead.
That's what he said.
If
If
not
it
for being in a
wasn't for the Tesla, it
Exactly.
saved his, like, he chokes up talking about
Yeah,
it.
so it's beautiful. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad Tesla
Yeah.
kept him safe.
Yeah.
But the other thing was people wanted it to be more affordable.
Yeah.
So the demand was really high, but actually they couldn't afford it.
Huh.
So when Model 3 came along, there were lines around the block, and
How much was Model 3?
at the time it was maybe 40K.
Oh,
or
wow.
30, high 30s or something.
Okay.
And I think it's even cheaper now. But the demand was so high, and we also needed to build cars. We started building them at 5,000 a week, which is
Wow.
a big number.
Where?
Out of Fremont, California.
Okay.
And then that part was taken care of by our good friend Antonio, and of course Elon was on the factory floor working on that.
Yeah.
The other problem was we had to get them to customers around the country.
Uh-huh.
So you're shipping cars, and you need to get them to the people.
Right.
So I was in New York City working out of our Brooklyn.
And what was your
Red Oak.
role?
Well, I do whatever it takes. So
Right.
in this case, it was delivery. I was just figuring out logistics, getting cars. So I was in New York. We had 10,000 cars coming to New York City that people needed to get, and we had like 2 days before the delivery cutoff,
Oh my God.
and there was no way we could do. There's just no way.
Right.
Like
10,000
They were
car-
coming, and then where would we put
Oh
them?
my God.
Because the parking lot would fill
Right.
up, and then the next
You
shipment
should've-
comes, and then the next
What
one,
did
and
you
then the next one,
do?
the next one. And so
Oh my God.
we did this call to fans of Tesla.
Uh-huh.
Would you be open to delivering a car?
Brilliant.
And we got fans lining up. As cars would come off the truck, we would say, "Here's the DMV certificate. You literally could steal this car if you want, because we've signed this car away to you. But what you need you to do is take this car
And drive it.
to the owner that has bought the car. They need to sign the paperwork, and then you need to bring it back to us. And if you don't mind, can you also take them on a little tour of what makes
How to
this
make the
car
car-
great?" And of course, they're Tesla fans, so they love that. So we had
Like you did today.
a volunteer army,
How many people?
hundreds and hundreds.
And they would go get one car and then they come
They
back.
come
do the
right
next
back
car.
and do the next one, come back, do the next one. They knew we were
that
under.
makes me want
was
to cry.
awesome.
That must have been the most
was
beautiful.
Awesome.
How did you make the call? How did you put out the call?
I'm sure
Email
used
or
Twitter, but
Twitter?
we had a lot of fans. We had a fan base, so I wasn't in charge of how to get outreach to it, but I asked if we could do that, and
God, that groundswell of community
It was
is
so
everything.
freaking
This
wonderful.
community, it's
so great.
everything.
so great.
Wow. Okay, so then
Oh, so that was 2018. So then we managed to get through things, but we almost went bankrupt in 2019, which sucked.
why?
Because
Because you're running because
Just running out of cash,
supply.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
it's
yeah,
so
it's so
such a
hard.
game.
building business
I read
is
Shoe
hard.
Dog. It's like,
freaking hard.
I know
It's so
too.
hard.
Also in Tushy as well.
And
It's intense.
and so it was the darkest time was 2019. We were like, man, this blows, and we've tried so hard. We feel like we've succeeded, and yet here we are. We're gonna die, and we just one foot in front of the other. We didn't, and then 2020 came along.
How did you not? What did you do? What did
We just started selling more cars.
you guys... Right.
Like you can one thing to get the cars out for the initial buyers,
Right.
but then you have to sell more cars.
Right.
And so,
Right.
So
That whole thing.
once the cars were in people's hands, and people could do test drives of their friends' cars.
Yeah.
And really, the thing is to do a test drive. Like, go do a test drive. If you don't know what a car is, like Tesla offers free test drives. So go to a Tesla
Right.
store, ask for a test drive. We will just
Brilliant.
let you enjoy the car, and totally free. And what happened was people with cars let their friends test drive their cars.
Right.
And so we were dying, and then all of a sudden we started to see sales come up, and we're like, oh wow, maybe we're not dead. And then 2020 became this very successful year all the way to
Because of COVID or why?
COVID helped a lot because government just gave people a lot of free money,
Right.
which
Right.
we don't think was a great idea, but they bought a lot of cars, not just our
Right.
cars, or they bought dishwashing machines or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But also we also had the Model Y then. Model Y became the best. It is today the best-selling car in the world
Wow. Why?
because it's great.
Yeah.
It's a
Wow.
great car.
Okay, so as you're coming up, you're still going through the ups and downs. You meet Christian. So you're in the 6 years between your
About 5
divorce,
years. Yeah.
5 years between your divorce and meeting Christiana. Those periods, there was kind of in the background the tumult, the kind of the ups and downs of Tesla. But then you were dating 3 people at a time.
Well, that was sort of me being single. I was like being very, very careful and thoughtful with attachment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
very honest and very open. So
course,
that's always worked really well.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at what people do if you're honest.
Right.
They just want honesty.
Right.
They don't want to have these sort of
games.
stories running in their
That's
head.
it. Sweet truth.
So I was reading about that. Yeah, so I started dating Christiana, and I always loved her and cared for her, but I didn't realize how great she was until
Yeah.
I spent time with her, physical time, and we were.
Yeah. But did you do any preparation? Like you're like, okay, like my marriage with Jen was great. My marriage with Jen was great, but I don't want to make the same mistakes. Or did you
Yeah,
ask her, like, did you
absolutely.
actually check values? Like, are we on the same trajectory? Because, you and Jen were kind of doing different things. Like, obviously I see you and Krishan together doing everything together, which is like so beautiful. And I think to me, that's what makes a great couple is when they're
I think that
have the
works in
same
the that
values
works in
and-
the earlier days, and now, as I
Yeah.
said earlier, we're kind of individuating. She's
Yeah.
working on one thing, I work on
Yeah,
another,
yeah.
and that's all great.
Yeah.
But we really are each other's cheerleader, and we are each other's support.
Greatest champions.
Greatest champion. Yeah, so I love reading books. Mars and Venus. If people haven't read Mars and Venus,
Yeah.
read Mars and Venus.
Really?
It should be required
Is-
reading. It's
is-
a book from the 80s.
Like Men from Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Men are from Mars,
Women
Women are from Venus.
Yeah.
Required reading.
By who again? It's by what's his name?
Jonathan Gray.
Yeah, John Gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other one is Mars and Venus Starting Over, which is another beautiful. It's a version of the book with after you've.
What is it about the book that really?
It really helps you. Funny enough, they talk about it like you get to understand what women are like if you're a guy, or
Yeah.
if you're a woman, you learn what
Guys like.
guys are like. Actually, no, I don't agree. I think it teaches you what if you're a man, it teaches what you're like.
Huh?
You don't realize how you are.
Right. Which is like,
Yeah.
give me some examples.
Well, one thing, for example, is this common thing that women will say, "Men don't listen,"
Right.
and so
You're like, oh, what?
and you're like, "What do you mean by that?" I listen, and but the book will say, the way men are is you'll come from work, which is like a battle scene, and then you come straight home, and your wife needs to process with you something happened in the day, and you need not this is not an optional. You must set aside 20 minutes to listen and let her talk, and you're like, wow, that sounds really hard. Well, here's the tools you have to be prepared for that time. By the way, it's not usually 20 minutes. It might be 2 minutes, or
Right,
3 minutes, but
right.
the book says be prepared
Right.
for
To have a
20.
transition time.
So
It's like he's a DJ too. By the way, one of my favorite DJs is Kimbal Musk. Okay, what's your DJ name?
joystick.
What is it? Joystick. It's so good. He played a slowed down hip hop set at our friend Emmy and Bea's wedding. And I was just like, I wanted to go to bed so bad, but then we went downstairs and he played this like slowed down hip hop set that was so sexy. And I was just like, okay, he gets transitions and he gets music and he gets pace. And so, yeah, I've been thinking about transitions a lot lately too. Transitions.
Yeah,
from,
so
like,
the book says
Yeah.
when you come home from work, take a break.
yeah,
Go for a walk around the park.
yeah,
You want to go to a restaurant, have a scotch at the bar.
yeah,
For me, I like to meditate. Do what it takes, but after that transition, make sure you're psychologically ready to receive your wife whatever she has to say,
Yeah.
which most times is fine.
yeah.
But if you're just checked out,
Yeah.
that's where your wife doesn't feel like you're listening.
Absolutely.
And so that's been a real gift. The other thing Christiana does, which also is teachings from these books, is when your husband comes home, she's also had a battle of a day. She's doing a lot of things. Smile,
Yeah.
and both of you should smile and say, hey, be happy to see each other.
They say if you kiss each other for 10 seconds in the morning, like twice a day, where you just like count to 10.
Oh, wow, that's great. I love that.
It
That's a good
actually,
one.
yeah, it actually, it kind of creates a make-outy vibe.
Yeah.
Because even because then you remember, you're like, oh wow, like I'm not just like bye, like
Yeah.
it's like, let me actually just like love you for a moment. Like that's always like, I'm just like, I want that
Yeah.
forever as well, which would be great.
I mean, I love the beauty of relationships, whether it's my own or whether it's I see my friends with relationships. And beauty is not always perfect. There's grief, there's sadness, there's joy,
Yeah.
there's excitement, and you want it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And the times where I don't relate is when friends put up a barrier and I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be their therapist,
Right.
but
Here to listen.
I'm there to relate.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. So if you were to give a piece of advice to people who are going through a really dark, painful, hard time and to come out on the other side joyful, what would be a few tips to
Sure.
offer?
So the one thing that I meditate a lot on is grief.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Grief can be something really heavy. It can be, I got divorced. And now that kind of meditating, that could be years of processing that level of grief.
Yeah.
But oftentimes the grief is a lot simpler than that.
Right.
You know, like I lost this battle at work and damn it, I had so much love invested in it. And I was really believing it's going to work and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Don't block that out.
Yeah.
Like just sit in the grief for
Yeah.
a little bit. That's what for me meditating does so well for, or sit in the sadness.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is when I'm in it,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm gonna be in this forever. I
Yeah.
can't believe I'm making myself do this.
Right.
But I've actually learned that you can't be in there forever.
Right.
You simply can't.
Right.
Your body comes out of it and says, I'm done now.
Yeah.
And then you it's such a beautiful thing because then you have, maybe not process it entirely, but you have given it the time. And now the rest of the day or the rest of the evening or the next day, you're not carrying that with you.
Yeah.
But if you distract from it and you try to avoid it because it is painful,
Yeah.
then you carry it with you and maybe forever.
For sure. So there is that endless loop that happens where people are like, well, what if I shouldn't have made this mistake, and they kind of loop the story over and over again.
Whereas if you I made that
Yeah.
mistake and you're like hard on yourself,
Right.
what I do is I sit and I accept that I made the mistake and
Yeah.
I am as hard on myself as I possibly can be for as long as I possibly can sit there,
Right.
and then I'm done.
Yeah. Totally. Right. You're like, okay, I just like beat my, okay, I'm good.
Don't
Yeah.
like I want to squeeze it into the
Yes.
shortest amount of time,
Yeah.
not extend it for
Yeah.
weeks or months or years where
Yeah.
I'm hard on myself about something
That's
that I did in the past.
So my coach always says, like, to really move through something is you have to, just like you said, feel the feeling completely.
Yeah, really go
Like
into it.
100% feel the whole thing. And then once you're done feeling the whole thing, it'll just pass.
It'll just
like
pass.
you said, it'll just pass.
It-
but you
it-
have to feel
yeah.
the whole thing. Or
And,
it'll
and
just
sometimes
keep
it's
coming
more
back.
than one session, but
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but I've learned to do that, and it is a gift I've given
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. So obviously the world, knows your family and your name, and it's a very complex family just system, and everyone in some way has their own complex family system, but you have a very public complex family
Sure.
system. How do you navigate just the complexities of, if you not only just like your family to the world, but then internally, like if you guys disagree inside, or whether it's for Tesla, whether it's just family, whether it's
Sure,
just love,
yeah.
how do you like, I'd love to get some insight.
Yeah,
on how you guys...
my one of the people I follow closely is Ram Dass,
Uh-huh.
and his one of, I think his main meditation is love everyone and tell the truth.
Mm.
And so I think what happens with drama, let's call it drama, in any family, is when you're not able to tell the truth.
Yeah.
But if you do it with love,
Yeah.
it's received well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I really do let the love flow with my family, all members of my family, and I do tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's harsh, and frankly, I also receive the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's harsh.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
In fact, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
You know where you stand.
Right. And also when you're receiving like feedback with love,
Yeah.
it's because they want to serve you. And so
Yeah.
even if it feels like you're attacking me or something, it's always like, oh wow, you're sharing something that you're seeing that I may not agree with, but it's because you love me.
Yeah,
So
right,
there's
exactly,
something beautiful
absolutely.
about that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the hardest times I've ever had in my family is when I've chosen to not communicate because I really disagree with something so much.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of examples. And I've learned that withdrawing love
Yeah.
hurts me.
Yeah. 100%.
It hurts me.
100%.
So I'm like, okay, instead I'm going to let the love flow
Yeah.
and I'm going to tell the truth no matter what the consequences.
Ugh.
And that is freeing, and at times can be a little bit much, but then it's done.
How would you say just telling the truth for some people is like, because like people would rather tell a little white lie or just to appease the other
So
person.
you're trying to make not hurt people's feelings,
Right.
And you should still care about people's feelings even when you tell the truth.
What would you say is the best way to tell the truth?
Wow, that is it's a hard question to answer. I would say the way I tell the truth is considered by many people to be way too harsh. And I'm trying to learn how to make it a little less harsh, but they still appreciate the truth.
Yeah.
And maybe the word isn't necessarily harsh, but it is just blunt.
Yeah.
I'm not wrapping it with a soft cushion for people's feelings. And I think I would like to, as I learn to get older, to soften the blow a little bit.
Yeah.
But also what I would hate to do is for people to not receive the truth because
Right.
it's so cushioned.
Right. Exactly. And there's
beating around the bush so
and
much.
people have such just soft hands these days. You know, it's not as important to get feedback.
Yeah.
You know, in companies, employees, it's like, it's so delicate. You can't say anything.
Well,
it's
with
so
my
hard.
brother and I, it's so, what we do in Tesla as an example is so hard.
Yeah.
If we had to also dance around feedback with each other,
Right.
we wouldn't get anything done.
Right. So how do
And
you
we're
guys-
brothers. We're not going anywhere. So might as well we can be very harsh with each other.
Right. How do you if either one of your feelings get hurt, how do you come back from that?
We grew up together in a pretty intense, physically fighting environment, really brutal in South Africa. So we actually are.
The apartheid.
We were trained to fight with each other. We fought viciously, physically.
Wow, against each other.
Against each other.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was we kind of learned this thing of we disagree, heavy fight, and then 5 minutes later, hey, you want to go see a movie?
Right.
And it'd be okay.
Right.
And so we learned that. That was when we were young. We don't do it anymore.
Right.
But now might be done over the phone or in person, but it's not a fight.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes later, maybe it's not going to see a movie.
I get
Let's
it.
go do something else.
Dinner,
Or go do
yeah.
something, just chill. We'll go to dinner.
What
hang out with the kids.
What are some of the things? What are some of like disagreements? Personal disagreement, work disagreement.
Almost everything is work.
Yeah.
I focus my support for my brother on work,
Yeah.
and that's sort of the right place
Yeah.
for it's Tesla, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. It's so amazing to meet like a polymath. You know, someone who is so versed in so many different areas and so deep in so many different areas, and to really kind of just have his passion be food and breaking bread and connecting and community
beautiful.
is really beautiful. And I love you so much. And I'm so grateful we had this time together.
Thank you for
I love
having me.
you.
Love you.
Wow, that was such a delightful interview with Kimbal Musk. First of all, to be able to go in the Cybertruck and actually experience self-driving for the first time in the Cybertruck with the man, the myth, the legend, Musk himself was a true dream. And to hear his really heartfelt, vulnerable story of how he talked about his divorce, of his first marriage, of his first love of 12 years, all the things he did internally, externally to clean it up, meeting Christiana, my dear friend, and his wife, all the rise and fall of Tesla, almost going bankrupt, all the things that he had to go through to help keep it alive with his brother and family was a tale. So if you love this episode and if you love watching these podcasts, one way to support the continuation of them is to go to hellotushy.com and get your amazing bidet today. I'm Miki, the founder. I've been at this for over 10 years, and truly it's the most game-changing product that you can have in your household. People literally experience, they say there's life before Tushy, life after Tushy. Washing is way better than using dry toilet paper that not only kills millions of trees, but actually doesn't support your health and hygiene. Getting a bidet is truly the most beautiful, pristine, clean, precise shower for your bottom. And without Tushy, these episodes would not be possible. So thank you for watching. Go to hellotushy.com, get your bidet today, join the 3 million plus customers who love their Tushy bidet, and I'll see you on the next Edge of My Seat podcast. Till next time.